Hello and welcome back to the Leinster Listen. I'm your host Mick Nan, and this is episode 29, the review of England versus Ireland in the third round of the Six Nations. This episode contains the overall opinion of the game, analysis of the game events, Six Nations positioning after this weekend, and a discussion section on the Super Rugby Rule Experiments. Right, so just getting into the score there, look, as I always say, thank God I'm not a betting man. But this time I'm happy enough. Very happy, man. My prediction there was 21-26 to Ireland, and the actual score there was 21-42. So yeah, look, I was very spot on with England's score there. So happy enough about that. I just fell short on us absolutely mopping the floor with England. So, but look, I'll take that any day. But yeah, look, fantastic win. Jesus, yeah, look, going into the overall opinion there, I said it in the closing comments on the preview episode, there is nothing like beating England at Twickenham. And we did it. And that is still 100% true. The biggest highlight of that game being Stuart McCluskey doing his massive chase down on Marcus Smith. I think that was actually probably the perfect way to actually describe the entire game as a whole. 110 plus kg, 33-year-old centre chasing down a fresher legged off the bench 27-year-old fly half. And not only doing that, but bringing them out into touch as well. Like, if that was not the highlight of the match, I don't know what was. It's just, the whole thing was amazing. But that was just the pinnacle. Looking at Andy Farrell's roar there, throwing his hands, his fists up in the air. Oh, lads, brilliant. Look, anyway, aside from all that excitement, let's just get into the actual details of that game. So, scrums, yeah, look, I always start off with the scrums. They're probably a bad thing to bring up into this one because it's the only thing that was actually probably iffy. We were giving away a couple of free kicks there, a couple of penalties. Overall, probably not great. Could have done an awful lot better. I think Genge just had it. He just had the scrum in his pocket. Tiger Furlong was having a mare of a time there against him. And it's probably something we still really need to work on. So look, the stats say we actually only lost 2 scrums, but if you're watching the match, you would have noticed that we were being dominated there. Definitely being pinged an awful lot more. We were given probably the benefit of the doubt when it was our scrums, so that was probably lucky enough there. But look, overall, probably just the only bad mark on that sheet was the scrums. Apart from that, fantastic game. Going over there to something that was probably better, the lineouts. Yeah, the lineouts were pretty good for the most part. We lost 2. Most notably one of them at the very end that gave England a consolation try. But apart from that, we had very good lineouts and very good mauls. And that was one of the things that, every single pundit before was saying that if we tried to maul, that the English would drive us back and they would have a field day with us. And that was not the case. And I think there was only one maul where they kind of got the upper hand. But apart from that, we did a fantastic job at lineouts. I think the best example of that was the very early turnover there by Big Joe McCarthy, where he just wrapped himself around that ball, and that actually led to a try. So look, fantastic there. We had a 90% success rate. I'll take that. I'll take that any day. Moving over there to the defence, yeah, look, the defence was just, we were on it. Lads. Oh my God. England conceded 24 turnovers. 20, just let that sink in there now. 24 turnovers. The amount of times that our players are doing jackals was just immense. On 3 separate occasions, we quashed an England attack coming into our 10 metres, into our 5 metres, and that was due to rapid jackal play. And look, you have to hand it to Tygburn there and Caelan Doris. They played an absolute blinder. It's probably what we needed against France, but we'll take it against England in Twickenham. Look, both Jacqueline, there was a couple of keeping the ball up there for some mauls. Fantastic. Like, the only thing you could ever see for a caveat there is that we only had an 80% tackle success rate, which I'm actually surprised at, because I didn't notice an awful lot of failed tackles. Probably because the English weren't really biting too much into that. It probably came at the very end, I suppose. It would have came with a good few more of those missed tackles when we got a little bit tired and eased off the pedal a little bit. But look, all in all, the defence was very good. We looked very dominant in that. Moving over there to the attack, yeah, obviously the highlight here, the attack was amazing. The pace, the deep pass out to the wings, the dummy passes by Jamison Gibson Park, everything about the attack was just perfection. We turned on the gas pedal here because the ruck play was so quick. And I remember I mentioned this about, the review at Italy there. Our ruck play was just so slow, like we had that one time where were low and Balcoon were in the Italy game running up the left wing, and we just had such a slow reaction to those rucks, and we ended up getting a turnover in that ball. That did not happen against England. They absolutely turned it 180% around, and we just dominated. Just dominated there. And Jamison Gibbs-Park has to be commended for a large part of that. His identification of gaps in the backfield for kicks, his rapid recycling of those rucks, getting the ball in and out of the scrums very quickly, knowing that we were very under pressure. That's what you want to see. That is what you need for a scrummy to be doing, especially when we've known our pain points for so long now. Obviously, you have to mention Balcoon here and Tommy O'Brien. They played an absolute blinder. Their work rate was so fantastic. Tommy O'Brien was winning the aerial battles left, right and centre, and Balcoon was just so rapid as well. He fobbing off some of the fastest players like Arundel, couldn't catch him. That is just amazing. It was a well-oiled machine in attack. It's just, there's no faults. There is not. I can't even find something to say we did bad on. Yeah, so as you know, with these matches, obviously the Ireland games, I'll go into some notable players, mostly hinged around Leinster players here, but obviously you'll have to mention a couple of the fantastic players there like Tadhg Byrne and Balcoon, and obviously Stuart McCluskey. But, we're going to focus on the Leinster players here because this is the Leinster Listen. So yeah, going into notable players there, Jamison Gibbs-Park. Obviously I've blown enough smoke up his hole now, but we'll just do it one more time here just for the sake of it. Look, he was the heartbeat of that performance. He was just so good. He hit a quick tap try there in the 20 minutes because he saw the English were sleeping after we had that. He just literally took it real quick. The ref said, yeah, that's fine. And straight in over again to try to stop him. But yeah, never going to stop him there. I think he finished up around 63 points in the Fantasy League as well. So, they're obviously on the ball there for, identifying very good players. And he completely outshone Alex Mitchell in every single department. Jesus. Moving over there for another notable player, Caelan Doris. Yeah, look, a fantastic captain for the day. He picked all the right decisions. He made 22 tackles and he topped the carry charts there as well. He also had, he was a direct cause of that Pollock yellow card as well, because he just flattened him, and Pollock all he could do to avoid having another try was just hold on to him. So look, he pretty much ended the game after that. Fantastic. Another person there as well, Tommy O'Brien. Tommy O'Brien is just, it's probably lucky he came on, and I don't want to bash low for this. He's lucky he came on at that point because his injection of pace was just so good. His aerial battles as well just won us the game as well. He assisted Balcoon's try, scored one of his own in the 30th minute. Fantastic. I said it there in one of the last episodes. He probably is one of the best wings we've ever produced in Ireland, and I stand by that. He's so good. Going over there to some not able players, yeah, obviously, look, James Lowe, but not able in the literal sense. He got injured in the 18th minute. So, look, hate to see that. Hate to see a player who's as strong as him, and who I've obviously commended in most other episodes here, coming up with the Leinster team and obviously the Ireland team. Unfortunately to see him go off, but look, Tommy O'Brien filled those boots very well, so it's probably a blessing in disguise, bittersweet symphony kind of thing. Some other not able players there, yeah, Tadhg Furlong, look, just was not his day, and I hate ever giving out about Tadhg because he's put such a shift in for us, but just Ellis Genn just had him in his pocket. He just knew what to do, he knew his pain points, and he had the scrum under control. So yeah, look, not Tadhg Furlong's best day, but I know he'll come back from it. And then finally, Jamie Osborne. Yeah, look, a real mixed bag there. He scored a brilliant try himself in the 70th minute to win, to seal that win. But look, he was sin-binned on the 54th minute. Very cynical offside, unfortunately, for that. And then he let England back in a little bit and forced us to really put our effort into defence when we were doing so well in the attack. And then he also struggled at a couple of clearance kicks there. Which is obviously some aerial errors there against Freddie Stewart as well. So look, yeah, not exactly his best day. I suppose the only neutral player there as well, Josh van der Flier. I don't actually know what's going on with Josh van der Flier, because he is such a fantastic player. Was getting Rugby Player of the Year as well, and I think he's just been so anonymous since the Lions tour. I don't understand. Now, in saying that, I say neutral because he did his job. He did most of what he needed to do. He didn't exactly have a headline moment, but he normally does, which is bit strange. And then he was also replaced in the 49 minutes. So yeah, look, he just didn't really get a chance to shine, I suppose. And, last time I would have blamed the style of play we had, and that was against France. But this time I think he definitely should have came in on his own with that, but he's just a little bit anonymous. Referee there was Andrew PRD. Not for long, though. He actually had to be subbed off himself. A lot of injuries there. But he was actually replaced by Pierre Brousset, who had actually a fairly decent game, so can't really complain on any of that. In a line, just excellent. Just chef's kiss. Okay, so going into the match events there, 9th minute we had a penalty for Ireland. Jack Crowley slotted it over. Yeah, it was the one I was talking about, the maul right after the line-out. Joe McCarthy just forcing that turnover there in that maul, and England were caught offside under pressure there as well. Crowley slotted that opener there for 3 points, and that was England 0, Ireland 3. 20th minute then, the first try for Ireland, Jamison Gibson Park. Yeah, look, he's banking on this penalty that England gave us, inside their own 22. Gibson Park just noticed that absolutely no one was looking at him. Took a quick tap and off he went. And that, in true Jamison Gibson Park fashion, scored a try. And that was our opener try as well. That was converted by Jack Crowley, brought the score to England 0, Ireland 10. Didn't have to wait too long then. 27th minute try for Ireland. Robert Balcoon. Yeah, look, Stuart McCloskey absolutely slicing through the midfield, and the ball was recycled out. Found Balcoon out wide on the wing, send our lead, and unfortunately that was missed by Jack Crowley, but brought score to 0-15. 28th minute then, yellow card for England. Freddie Stewart. Yeah, look, he was sent to the bin for playing literally from that same passage of play that went out to Balcoon. He actually played Jamison Gibson Park through that ruck, and he was off his feet and offside as well, so he was gone to the bin there for 10 minutes, and that was on the 28th minute. Didn't have to wait too long then for us to capitalise on that. 30th minute try for Ireland, Tommy O'Brien. Yeah, look, he obviously exploited the man advantage there immediately. Balcoon turned provider, and a dummy then as well with a sprint feeding O'Brien, and he just kind of pumped the legs, fobbed off two of the players trying to tackle him, and that was converted then by Jack Crowley, brought a score to England 0, Ireland 22. Imagine that, 30 minutes in. 41st minute then, just in the red for the first half. England got their first try, and it was Fraser Dingle. Yeah, look, a delayed pass from Mark Smith. He was just brought on there for Stewart, created a gap for Dingle, and he just powered through. And look, gave him a little bit of hope going into the half time, because that was converted then by George Ford, bringing the score at half time. England 7, Ireland 22. Didn't have to wait too long for some dramatic stuff. 42nd minute, yellow card for England, Henry Pollock. Look, it was seconds into the half. Killendoris burst through the middle, and look, he was guaranteed a try, to be fair, and Pollock was binned there for a cynical foul by not releasing. So he was gone then for 10 minutes in the 42nd minute. Going in 43rd minute, so not too long later after that, we'll do the same passage of play and taking up that man advantage once again. Penalty following that yellow card. Sheehan crashes over from close range in true Dan Sheehan fashion to secure us that bonus point in 43 minutes. That was also converted by Jack Crowley to bring the score. England 7, Ireland 29. 54th minute then, try for England, Ollie Lawrence. Yeah, look, Ollie Lawrence, first time back, probably actually arguably played one of the better games he's had, and as in terms of his teammates, probably better than most of them there. He found some space in the midfield and just literally crossed untouched over into our try line, unfortunately, and that was converted by George Ford. Brought the score to England 14, Ireland 29. 54th minute then, a yellow card for Ireland. Yeah, this is with the Jamie Osborne one. Look, it was a cynical infringement, in fairness. It was a build up to Lawrence's try, so he was obviously going to get a yellow card for that. And then they actually didn't capitalise, because we went into hyperdrive. So 59th minute, we ended up with a penalty, which was slotted over by Jack Crowley. So yeah, fantastic. That's exactly the response you want. Ireland just stayed completely calm there, and that brought a score to England 14, Ireland 32. 66th minute then, and Jamie Osborne back on. Nothing for England. Another penalty for Ireland, which was slotted over by Jack Crowley. Yeah, this was actually for Guy Pepper, who sealed off the ball right in front of their own posts, just turning that knife in the side of England. That brought a score to England 14, Ireland 35. Didn't have to wait too long though. 70th minute, another try for Ireland, Jamie Osborne. So literally coming off of that bench, decided, or off the bench, off the 10 sin bin bench, but still, decided, well, I'm going to make up for that now. Went and finished off an absolute slick Irish team move to hammer home that victory, and that was converted successfully. Jack Crowley there as well. England 14, Ireland 42. Now, unfortunately, we had to just give England a little consolation try, so it was a 76 minute. We did a line out, went straight over, unfortunately, and they just had the pressure on us from that, and that was scored by Sam Underhill and converted in by George Ford, which brought the score to England 21, Ireland 42, and that being the full-time score, England 21, Ireland 42. Player of the match there was Jamison Park, and he deserved every bit of it because he controlled the game. His kicking was absolutely pinpoint, and he set up at least 2 or 3 tries himself. So look, he kept the lads calm during the crucial moments, and not to mention had that little cheeky try himself, which he's all that famous for. Okay, so where does that leave us in the Six Nations table? Well, if you remember, we were in a bad way there for a while with being 5th, but we're now in 3rd. So look, France were in 1st there, rightly so. They got a very dominant win over Italy there today. But Italy kind of stuck it to them, but just couldn't find those tries, unfortunately. So they have topped the table there, France, with all the bonus points and 15 points in the bag. Scotland are in 2nd with 11 points. We're obviously in 3rd, as I said, with 9 points. Those 2 games missing the bonus point really killing us there. England are in 4th with 5 points. Italy are in 5th with 5 points. And poor old Wales there are in last with 1 losing point that they got from Scotland this weekend. The next game we have, well, in the Six Nations, will be Ireland versus Wales in the Aviva, 6th of March at 8:10 p.m. But the next game covered by us here at Leinster Listen will be a return to the URC with Cardiff versus Leinster, 27th of February, 7 p.m. in the Cardiff Arms Park. Alright folks, this is an interesting one, and it's been out for a while now, so I've just kind of let the pundits and all the articles kind of go through it first, so I'm going to get a proper understanding of what was going on. So if you haven't heard, Super Rugby are actually going through with a couple of rule experiments, and it's safe to say they are going to change stuff over there because it's a bit crazy. Notably, I suppose a scrum culling of sorts. They really don't like them, and I'm assuming they're trying to go towards rugby league or something. So yeah, just going off of that first one there, we'll go through 4 of them here, and 1 TMO change. So the first one here, and probably the most exciting one that they've changed, is where accidental offsides or delaying the ball at a ruck is no longer leading to a scrum. So that's immediately going to be a free kick now. And yeah, they've decided, they've said, is that they're declaring war on time wasting, right? So they just see the scrum as a bit of time wasting, they just eradicate it, right? And they call that the 4 minutes of dead time per game. That's what they're getting rid of. Now, if you ask me, if you're removing scrums, you're essentially removing the contest for possession, because that's exactly what rugby union is all about. Like, it's a rugby match without a scrum, just rugby league with a line out. I don't know. I don't know why Southern Hemisphere rugby just hates scrums. Well, all except South Africa, of course. I would actually prefer if they started to hate scrums and just weren't as good at them. But yeah, that's a strange one. I guess that the scrums are really delaying things sometimes, but they're an integral part of the game. Like, it's you used to be able to say, you win the scrums, you win the game, and I think that is sort of true still. Unfortunately for England, it probably wasn't, but they're an integral part, and they're one of the biggest pieces of rugby union history. So I don't know. I don't have any time for all these ones that are trying to reduce the amount of scrums. Any of these. Moving on there's actually one that I do quite like, and that's the caterpillar execution, essentially. So the new law there being that once a referee calls use it, there can be no more players that can join the ruck to lengthen it. And I actually don't mind that. I think it's a great idea. It kills that caterpillar ruck where you can have like up to 5 people line up for a box kick off the scrummy. And also it really brings in the charge down rates, and we've seen a number of really good charge downs in the Six Nations. So look, I'm in favour of this one. I hate caterpillar rucks with a passion. I also hate the current rule because it's never enforced. So yeah, maybe that one not too bad. I'll take that. The next one's an interesting one though, right? And it's the 50-22 like buff, essentially. So they've now made passing back inside your own half legal. So if you don't know what the 50-22 rule is, you would have heard the referee kind of shout it. But if the ball is brought back with inside your own half, then the 50-22 is not on. So even if you did kick it perfectly all the way down, you wouldn't get it. But now with Super Rugby, they're actually deciding, right, we're going to allow that to happen, and we're going to let people throw the ball back to your 15 there, or your really really good centre, Jesus, if he wants to kick it, and if he gets it, then that's 50-22. Now for me, I think that's going to increase a lot of kick tennis. I think it's going to be a kick and duel. I think you're going to be forcing the 15s to stay very deep in their own half. You're also going to have this manipulation play where they'll drag the other team as close as they can to the 50 line, and then just drop it back immediately and go for that kick. So look, don't know how that's going to be. I wouldn't like to see it being abused in the sense that there's just kicks non-stop now. But look, we'll have to see how that goes. And then there's another one here, which is a funny one. I'm not really opposed to this one, but let me know what you think. So referees are now no longer in Super Rugby required to give a yellow card when awarding a penalty try. And yeah, I can see the point in this. It's kind of a double jeopardy. You're conceding the 7 points, which is huge anyway. You don't even have to get the kick in, and then you're also losing the player. So yeah, look, I think this kind of opens the realm for a bit of cheating, in the sense that a winger could just go and slap down a pass to prevent a try that will obviously end up with a penalty try, but he's safe himself. So I feel like this is more of a Razzie Erasmus level rule change where they'd only love to abuse that. So look, I'm not entirely sure how that one's going to go. I'll have to just wait and see. Yeah, and then finally, I suppose the other thing is the silent TMO thing. So they really don't like that the TMOs get to involve themselves an awful lot more than they do. So now in Super Rugby, the TMO is now forbidden from intervening like unprompted. So it's actually going to be a prompt from the referee to get the TMO involved, and that's for minor technicalities. So they can't speak up otherwise. So unless it's actually like a serious foul play, as in a potential yellow or red card, or a very clear and obvious error in the act of scoring, then the on-field referee's decision is final. Nothing else. So, yeah, I can probably see that coming in. Like, I don't think we've had too many instances in the Six Nations anyway so far where I said, oh, that's a TMO encroaching now, or that's ridiculous, or it should never be brought back to that. But yeah, look, obviously Super Rugby are deciding, no, that's enough for us. We're not having that anymore. Just let the referee do the game the way he wants to, and don't be having all these, eyes from the sky bringing in a lot of fine tuning into the game. But look, let me know what you think. Do you like those new rules? Is there anything there that screams, Jesus, don't let it come into European rugby? Yeah, let me know. Alright, that's her, folks. As always, if you haven't already, please do follow us on social media. Get your comments in. Get an old comment into YouTube there. Let me know if the discussion points are, being good now, or if you had any opinions on them. But look, as always, thanks for listening.